It's time to start your engines and be part of the conversation. You can always ask the experts, Raffi and Dan Rosenberg, because it's now time for Clutch Radio. The show starts now.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dan.
Eric made fun of us because it's always like, and the show starts now. Like, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Like we turn into like an NPR show of some sort with lack
We got to
of
bring
water.
that excitement. Well,
But
today
yes.
we got something big to be excited about, don't we?
It is the birthday episode. We do 2 birthday episodes a year. The last one was yours,
Yes.
which means this one must be mine.
There you go. And we're
Yeah.
happy to do, by the way, listener birthday episodes. We're more than happy to accommodate the birthday of some of our important listeners, and there are many. But today we're going to celebrate Dan and Dan's birthday. And Dan, why don't you tell everybody what's going on in the back of your studio?
I'm sitting here in front of Valley Ford in 1970. You got a Torino for sale there for $28.99. Look at that.
Wow. And it looks like you've got a yellow 69 Boss 302. And if I'm not mistaken, that blue car up front is the monster Boss 429.
It's a heck of a car, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
if you are a not a Ford person, we can also switch over to a Chevy dealership if you like.
there you go. That's
SMK
okay.
Chevrolet, which I think still exists. I'm not sure.
And that's 1970.
1970, that's what the dealerships looked like. Pretty much the same as now, just not as big.
Yeah, where the cars were big and the smog was prevalent.
Yes, very much so.
I think 1970 was one of the worst years recorded for smog in some of the major cities. And a great deal of that was unfortunately attributed to the automobile, which at that time was still running leaded fuel.
Yeah, I was trying to look up gas prices and I realized there's only one gas price in 1970. There was no premium. I mean,
Well-
diesel was out, but who was using diesel other than big
There-
trucks?
There was, at one point, there was regular and ethyl.
Ethel, was it Fred and Ethel? Is that
Fred and ethyl. Those were the two brands of fuel you could get. And for our younger than boomer audience, Fred and Ethel were characters on the TV show I Love Lucy.
Yes, and for those young people, TV was this box we used to have that we would watch shows on.
And you actually had to
phone,
wait.
but bigger and hanging on a wall.
With old TV, you actually had to wait until the show came on, and you couldn't pause for commercials. You had to run as fast as you could to the bathroom.
Yes, we timed them out perfectly.
Yeah. So ethyl was the additive tetraethyl ethyl lead, which they put into fuels to help reduce knocking, which unfortunately ended up being one of the worst possible additives to put into anything. But unfortunately, during that time, tetraethyl lead and lead-based additives were put in pretty much every product at that time without knowing that it was eventually to be discovered as a neurotoxin.
And today's show, we decided one of the ideas was we drive around in a car from 1970.
Yeah.
Couldn't find one. And the other one was that we would act like it was 1970.
Yeah.
So our prices would all be based in 1970s prices. And I found a very interesting article that instead of just showing the price of what a car was in 1970, they converted it to $2020. That's when the article.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You could see how cheap cars would be if it was still going by inflation.
There you go.
And cars have not grown properly because a brand new Dodge Dart, how much do you think that would be in today's money?
Well, a Dodge Dart at the time, we're talking 1970, I believe that might have been about $2,000, maybe $2,200.
Probably. I don't.
Okay.
It doesn't show the 1970 price. It just shows what it.
So I'm going to
$2020.
guess that that would be 16,000 today.
18,098
Wow.
would be a brand new Dodge Dart, and a new Ford Galaxy 500 would be 21,600. A new Ford Pinto, $13,000. So when you think about used car or new car prices today, the average new car price is $40,000.
Yeah.
So
Well,
cars have
and
gone a little bit crazy, comparatively speaking.
right. And what's happened with automobiles is when you look at what if you took apart a Ford Pinto, for example, or a Dodge Dart, and you analyzed the profit margin in those cars, I think what you'd find is that first off, they were far less complex than a modern car. So we're getting a tremendous amount of technology and safety in a modern car, but we're also paying for the cost of that technology with every purchase because the amortization schedules no longer make financial sense the way they used to over hundreds and thousands of automobiles. So they have to amortize the costs of this tremendously expensive software technology and robotics upgrades in the factories in order to build the cars. So the cars themselves become more expensive. The reverse has been true of things like major appliances, including televisions, cell phones, and other electronics.
And houses are the exact opposite because they haven't really changed the technology a whole lot.
Houses are still made.
And some of them are made a lot crappier than houses from the 60s and 70s. But a house in 1970 was $40,000.
Yeah.
Not in today's dollars.
Right.
That's insane.
Well,
and you know how much a stamp was back then?
Let's see, 1970. I'm going to guess 7 cents.
6. Very close. Very close.
6 cents. It's interesting when you do the price of land has increased dramatically, and that's what drives the exorbitant prices of homes in areas where homes have been built in a highly dense area and there's no longer land available. So the land underneath the existing home is what drives the price up so high. And of course, it's infrastructure as well, depending on how well your city has been protected, insulated, and is politically driven for more larger revenue. And the same thing is true with automobile companies and aviation companies. If you play the government politics role effectively and you lobby and you're able to raise a lot of money to get development resources, then you're able to experience higher profit margins in your products, but you're also able to stay far ahead of the curve against competition that doesn't do that effective lobbying in order to grow their product base.
Yes. Or if you're a smart company, you follow the leader who's spending all the money on lobbying and changing laws, and you just kind of go right behind them and you take advantage of their hard work.
Yes, you shadow profiteer.
Which is why there's always a Burger King beside a McDonald's, because McDonald's did the research and the demographics and said, this is where we're going to put one. And Burger King's, okay, we'll put one over here.
We'll put one over here.
You don't need to do the study. You obviously did it. You're not going to invest all this money in putting a McDonald's here.
There you go.
If you just go by inflation, $40,000 from 1970 is $281,446 today.
Right.
And there are parts of the country where you can still buy a nice house for $200,000, $280,000. We don't have to live in one of those parts of the country, but yes.
There are a lot of places across America where you could live effectively, affordably. But the challenge in all of that, and this is what's interesting, in 1970, do you have the statistic on what the average income, the average annual household income was?
Yes.
Okay.
$8,933.
So what's interesting about that is you said it's $8,000. So that's a factor of almost 4 to buy a home. So what you do is you take that number and you say, okay, now with today's income, for somebody who is capable of earning a certain amount of money annual, or a couple earning annually, are they able to buy a home for 4 times their income? And in many instances, that doesn't pencil out.
Yeah.
You know, if a family is making $40,000 a year, there's no home to buy for $160,000.
No.
So it makes it extremely difficult for people to get the home that they need for their family. And the same thing is true for working people with purchases of trucks. In 1970, a truck was basically built to be a tool. and that tool had to last very long. So it wasn't loaded with a lot of amenities. You would get a truck, a pickup truck would have an engine and a transmission and wheels and tires. And the cabin had roll down windows. Sometimes it had no radio. It had no air conditioning. Very, very basic. No carpet. The floor was a rubber mat, and that's what you got. So you could really buy that tool and use it to earn your income as part of the way you lived.
Yeah, and the 4 times is still kind of the number. Like when they look at your payment to income revenue, like for a ratio for cars, it's typically 25%, 20% sometimes. But for house, usually they say you should not spend more than a quarter of your paycheck on housing.
Yeah.
So if you make $1,000 a week or $1,000 a month, you rent should be no more than $250.
That's right, which is
easy number.
Right. And we love doing those numbers because we love coming up with car payments. We love coming up with car factors in the way we look at things. So we're going to do some more numbers on Dan's birthday today, and want to thank everybody for shouting out happy birthday to Dan. Thanks to Jake. I think I saw Janice also said happy birthday, and Ray, of course, popped in with a happy birthday.
And Adam as well said happy 30th. So thank you, Adam. Only off by 21 years.
21 years, yeah. Well, years ago when I turned 50, I started having birthdays counting backwards because my hope is to make it to 100 years old. And so after I turned 50, I started counting backwards. So
get back to zero.
That's right. I get back to zero because, by then I'm going to be in diapers anyway.
Yeah. At my 40th birthday, I started doing actually did it in my 30s. I started doing the annual. So it was like my 7th annual 30th birthday.
There you go.
Or my 10th annual 30th birthday.
There you go.
Which actually would be your 39th birthday, but a lot of people did the math wrong. So when I did my 2nd annual 40th, everybody said, "Oh, you're 42." I said, "No, I'm 41." But it's your 2nd annual 40th birthday. I'm like, yeah, the first one was last year at 40. This is the second. And I'm like, okay, we're done. So this is I could say this is my 2nd annual 50th birthday.
So in addition to the many important cultural and political things that were happening when you were born, August 28th, 1970, there were a lot of really interesting things happening. Culture was changing dramatically. We were exiting the 60s, and the 60s was a very tumultuous period in America. If you look at that decade, if you look at 1960, for example, the fashion, the music, the cultural trends, the level of activity among young people, and you go from 1960 to 1969, you see a dramatic change in fashion, in vocabulary, in culture, dance, music, and in automobiles. No surprise there. That decade, the decade of the 60s, even though people speak about it in pretty significant ways, was really a dramatic era because there was so much change going on, and significant things like building rocket ships to go to the moon, and changing our geopolitical perspective on what war meant with our entrance into the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and the number one song today in 1970 was War.
Really?
What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
And who was the band?
I'm going to say it again. That was, if I'm not mistaken, Edwin Starr, was it not?
Good God, y'all.
It says, that's what it says, War by Edwin Starr. But the song that was released this week that actually became the number one song of the year. Do you know what that is?
Number one song of the year that was
1970, but it was released this week, and it just shot up to the charts and became the number one song of 1970.
Wow.
We're doing music all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen.
Tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
No, but close.
Oh.
Not really. I'll Be There by the Jackson 5.
Oh, there you go. The Jackson 5. Well, and you know what else happened in 1970?
Do tell.
This little band from Liverpool broke up.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the Beatles broke up. They called it a day. That was it. And off they went to do their own things.
Oh, how sad.
Yeah.
Whatever became of any of them? I've never heard of any of them since.
Yeah, none of them really amounted to anything after the
Disappeared
Beatles.
off the
They
face of
just
the earth.
disappeared, or they vanished essentially.
Imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I think they all joined up and became Elton John. I think that's what happened.
Oh, okay. That's okay. It's just like they combined.
But back to Cars.
Oh yes, back to Cars. I did find a couple of cool commercials, and we don't usually, share videos on this particular show, but this particular one I thought was really funny, and there's something about it that seemed very familiar as well, and it's kind of odd, but when you think about the year, and then you watch this commercial, we'll play this commercial really quick,
All right.
and we can enjoy.
Hey, boy, what's wrong, officer? Boy, you're in a heap of trouble. Violation City Ordinance 11-14, operating a racing type vehicle inside the city limits.
Oh, officer, this is the new Dodge Challenger RT. It's not a racer.
Ain't I? What kind of tires, them, boy?
Optional polyglass GTs.
Racing tires. Them stripes, that boy, what you call those?
Racing stripes.
I suppose that's a reconverted lawnmower motor.
Optional 440 Magnum V8.
What's that doohickey in that, boy?
Well, that's a new optional slapstick racing shift. So look, it's got concealed wipers, and it's got dual headlights. You don't find that on any racer, do you?
Careful, boy. Our bookkeeper's that's a law officer.
If you can handle the way people react to your 1970 Dodge Challenger, you could be Dodge material.
Now, look, boy. I know a race car when I see one.
Now, what's weird with that is I'm watching it going, oh, it's Jackie Gleason doing Buford T. Justice from Smokey and the Bandit. Like, wait, that didn't exist yet, and that's not Jackie Gleason. But
No.
he's almost doing the exact character, isn't he?
He is doing the exact character. And in fact, I think I read years ago that one of the writers actually used that Dodge commercial as the motivation for.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the Gleason character. The what's funny about that is that they're featuring the Dodge Challenger. I remember that commercial as a kid, and I remember thinking that was a really neat car. And years later, I ended up buying not only one, but two Dodge Challengers, including an RTSE with a 383 engine and an SE, which was a rare car option with the factory 440 engine.
Wow.
Yeah, both 1970.
And then you also became a state highway patrolman and called everybody boy.
Yes.
You're so inspired.
I'm so inspired.
Now, there is one other one. This one's kind of a long one, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. But this one was kind of interesting, too. Just how they don't do car commercials like this anymore. Like, they just don't. It's just not the same, is what I'm trying to say. Make sure I share audio. All right. Can you guess what it's for? Oh, it already says what it's for. I was going to try to.
Now, a new star. The proud new Lincoln Continental.
Look at the size of that thing.
1970.
That's a serious automobile there.
The most dramatically new motor car in Continental's long, illustrious history.
Motor car.
Long, illustrious.
In the classic Continental tradition.
I don't know that I've ever seen a
The
1970
massive
Continental.
grill.
Yeah, they're out there.
Flank,
They're very rare, mostly
Car
because they
freestyle
were
hood.
bought, used up, and
cornering lights.
I
Concealed
think-
windshield wipers.
Concealed windshield wipers,
Custom
big deal
pinstripe.
that year.
oh yeah,
Protective
Yeah.
body side molding. And fender skirts.
Fender skirts.
yeah, you definitely want fender skirts. But look how long it's taking for the camera to pan back that side.
Continental can boast of the most distinctive rear styling in America.
It's the most distinctive, Dan. There's no
in
other.
America.
It didn't get the European
Rakish roof
distinction.
slant and
I mean, look at that roof
characteristic
slant.
Continental thin roof pillar provides hardtop styling.
But it's got a thin roof pillar, so it looks like a hardtop, but they
The
couldn't make a
interiors
hardtop
are
that
all you'd
big.
expect. There is a feeling of spaciousness.
Never
Almost
mentions what
every
material
interior
that is.
dimension
No,
has
it's-
increased materially. Lincoln Continental.
It's increased
as never
materially.
before,
I'm not sure what that
surrounds you
means.
with luxury. The town car
And the music, too, is
interior
so-
option
Yeah, the
offers an
music
extra
depicts it
measure
sweet.
of elegance.
This is my
Yes.
favorite.
The completely new panel has a sweeping expanse of wood tone and Mark III inspired instrumentation. Steering
Wood
wheel
tone.
has rim blow, of course.
It's
The
rim
new
blow. That's
optional
another thing that was a big
AM/FM
deal.
stereo radio is completely integrated into the instrument panel, eliminating the floor adapter.
Yeah, no floor adapter.
You don't want that.
No.
Who wants a floor adapter?
I mean, it's integrated. It's an AM and FM.
Yeah. Well, that
These
was a
crazy
big deal.
kids listening
Yes,
to
nothing
rock
has
music.
been spared to make this car the luxury leader in its field. But this motor car must be driven
at
to
these
be
houses,
fully
too.
appreciated.
That is just amazing how long that car
It
is.
starts with the unsurpassed ride, resulting
Like,
from
I don't think that would fit in my garage.
127-inch
No,
wheelbase,
And I have a long,
don't
I
think
have
3-inch
a
wider
long
rear
garage.
tread, and
And-
the utilization of a Mark III type computer-tuned suspension system.
It's Mark
Passenger
III.
Computer
comfort
too.
is heightened by an
Computer-tuned.
improved sound package to
This
reduce
is 1970.
outside
They
noise,
did have computers then.
and new fresh flow ventilation system,
How long
which
is this
exhausts
thing?
stale air through a rear deck grill.
I believe it's 3 acres.
Lincoln Continental, now more than ever, America's most distinguished motor car.
Now more than ever. Oh, I
More than
ended
ever.
up the whole thing.
And what's amazing about that is if you look at a commercial today, first off, there was probably maybe a dozen camera cuts in that. I think there are a dozen camera cuts in the first 15 seconds of a contemporary automobile
Oh,
commercial.
yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. And, what they're selling now is so much more different. And the pace of that sale, 3 minutes for a commercial is unheard of.
Yeah. And they probably, they sponsored a TV show that week and they were the only commercial.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find the length.
The what?
The length of that car. That was the 1970 was the fifth generation.
Yeah, I'm going to guess around 220, maybe 217 is my guess. It's
not showing anywhere. I'm trying to find it. Anyway, so yeah, those would be some fun cars to own today. And if you own either of those cars today, you either spent a ton of money. Oh, here it is. Dan Lindquist found it. 224 inches, wheelbase 127, curb weight 4669.
Wow. Geez. But and while that's a lot of weight, 46, that's nothing compared to what a contemporary SUV is, or a modern electric vehicle with full batteries and ABS and computer suspension and all of that. Even though the body materials have gotten a lot lighter, it's amazing how much weight has been added with other things. And for an electric car, weight doesn't matter nearly as much as it used to for a gas-powered one.
Yeah, and the weight's all on the floor of a battery-powered car usually. So that kind of a good center of gravity. Yeah, I just looked on Craigslist. There are no 1970 Continentals available.
That's too bad. But there were the other thing we were talking about was some pretty amazing cars came out in 1970. It was the debut of the Dodge Challenger, which was late to the pony car game. But the Challenger was a really dynamic and exciting car. And it also came with the paired sister car, the Cuda. And this was what Chrysler called the E-body, which was the wider, they used the B-body platform with the shorter wheelbase. And so that's how they developed the Cuda and the Challenger. Those were very popular cars. By 1970, it was the second iteration of the Ford Mustang, which changed in 1969 and would change again in 1971. But the interesting thing about 1970 was it was the last year for the Shelby Mustang, which ended in 1970. And the Shelby Mustang in 1970 was basically a 1969 Mustang with a chin spoiler and two black stripes on the hood.
Interesting.
That ended that ended the Shelby American run of Mustangs in 1970. Now Chevrolet, with their Camaro, offered in 1970 and a half the.
I love the half-year cars.
Yes, those are great. I mean, let's just
round up. Just round up.
So the 70 and a half Camaro was a beautiful new design, very, very different from the 69. And you can see that in the body design It wasn't just a redo of what had been done from the 67 to 69 Camaro design line. It was all new with extremely advanced glass, all of the contemporary features that you see in the Camaro that would last well into the 80s. That design and basic platform would remain for a decade. But the 70 and a half Camaro, European inspired, the front end inspired by Ferrari, admittedly so from the design staff at the time. Very, very sophisticated glass work. Everybody who saw this car when it came out new was impressed. The motor press lauded this car as one of the most significant 1970 automobiles. And then in European cars, we saw some pretty interesting advances, including Porsche, who offered a very, very unique car in their lineup, the Porsche 914. And I believe, although it debuted in 69, I believe 1970 was the first model year for the Porsche. And most importantly, with the 914 in 1970, you could get the 914 four-cylinder, or you could get the 914 6, which was a substantial performance improvement over the 914 4. And today, that is greatly appreciated by collectors who will pay anywhere from $85,000 to $120,000 for a 914 6, whereas a regular 2-liter 914 4 would be maybe $25,000 or $30,000.
Wow. So you just know everything. It's really scary. I can just set Raffi on a he knows it. Like, I didn't need to Google anything. That's why on my phone it says Raffi human Google whenever he calls. The 1970s, though, it does seem like that's when they got to be the longest. And then like 73, when they started changing things because of the fuel economy standards and unleaded gas. And then in the 80s, things got smaller. The cars never really got to be that huge, long thing again. Like even like the Chrysler 300 or the Cadillac DTS. I mean, they were kind of big. Maybe the Buick Roadmaster was a big one for a while, and the mid 90s Chevy Impalas.
Right. Well, big and long in automobiles was primarily because we just really didn't know what we were doing with suspension geometry. And so the best way to make a car comfortable was to make it a long wheelbase car, so that all of the stuff that's wiggling around at the wheels has plenty of time to settle out before it gets into the cabin.
Oh,
Well, all of that can be worked out in a short wheelbase car. You feel it a lot more because that action, that translation of vibration moves very quickly through the car. And
Michael says he had that Camaro in white. You had a 70 and a half.
Wow.
That's cool. No, I had a Quest, and the Quest continues, but at some point, and I can find this car now, but it's a ridiculous amount of money, was to find a car built on August 28th, 1970. Now that is a Friday car. And a lot of times people say, don't buy Friday cars. You don't buy a Monday car. You don't buy a Friday car. You want your nice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Middle of the week is when you want to buy. That's the car, the build, because Friday they're heading off for the weekend. Monday they had a crazy weekend,
which is just ridiculous. I can't imagine that would be true, but it's a fun thing to think about from the context of manufacturing.
Right.
But that 1970 Camaro, they sold quite a few of them. Not a couple thousand. There were several thousand that they sold, and these were great cars because they were not expensive. You got a wide range of performance that you could order. You could get it all the way up to a Z28, which was a very, very effective performance car. Great handling, great power. So back to the long wheelbase, the reason why we no longer have these enormous long vehicles is we figured out how to soften ride and how to computer engineer the ride so that short wheelbase cars can still have good, effective ride quality on the inside. So there's just no reason to have these enormous long automobiles.
And I had my new car has dampers that are adjustable for the suspension, but they're manual. Like you have to go under the car and adjust which you would think an electric car, they would make that something you could hit a button and it would do.
Well, that is interesting because the reason why it's probably not electronically adjustable is because of the cost. That's something that they will probably eventually put into the car. But a lot of times with cars like your car, which is the Polestar, this is a relatively new offering. So they can't amortize the cost of all that technology and still make money on the car. So my guess is with the Polestar, they're not doing a full amortization of all of their tooling over the first series of runs. So they're probably losing money in the first series, but they're putting them out there as cheap advertising, because now that you're out there, you're basically driving a billboard for a Polestar. And as an early adopter, they reward you by giving good value with the product. Down the road, you're going to end up paying more for the same car that you bought, because it's going to come with a lot more technology and features, and they'll be able to charge more because all of that marketing will turn into bigger demand.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can help me adjust my dampers.
Well, I'm more than happy to.
I mean, if you want to get up under my undercarriage and look at my dampers, that'd be nice.
You're a little too old for me to be looking at your dampers.
No, not diapers, dampers. No, I'm a little too young for diapers. I'm right at that point where I'm too old and I'm too young for diapers at the same time.
The big question is, why would you even want to adjust your dampers? Do you notice any difference in the suspension quality?
I've read that they preset it to the sport tune, so it's a harder tune, and if you can make it more comfy and cozy. And I think that I might rather have it, because I'm not going 120 around a bend.
That's true. You're not
yet.
No, nor should you be, really.
Yeah. Now, Jake in the comments does say he believes that you do not buy a Monday or Friday car. He returned a Friday car in the Lemon Law.
Really?
Yeah. So,
wow.
I know. I think my dad used to always say it. Now, I would venture that if a car was built on August 28th, 1970, which is a Friday, and it's still in existence, it did okay. Like, if it's still out there, it did okay. And I would also venture to guess it's a 1971, actually, not a 1970, which means I'm actually a 71 model. I'm not a 1970 model.
Well, you are late in the model year. Most automobiles are built earlier in the year for that year of delivery. And, when you get further down in the production year, some people believe that it's better to buy late in the production rather than early in the production, because by then they've figured a lot of that stuff out, which is entirely possible. That makes sense. With art pieces, people will buy the single digit edition of the first 1,000. So if you have a number 1 or a number 7 or one of the earlier ones, it's considered rarer or better than one of the last ones. But oftentimes the last run is among the best. The quality of it, all of those things have been worked out over time.
And a lot of manufacturers didn't do the whole, we shut down in August for retooling and then we start back up and the new model year starts in September. Tesla's, if your build date is 12/31/13, that's a 13 model. They don't call that a 14 model. And same with DeLorean did that, because they had a little stamp on it. Like the October 81s were still 81s. The December 81s, I believe, were still 81s. And then the January 82s were the 82s. Although there were no 83 builds. They were all built in 82 and then called 83s because, some stuff went down.
Interestingly enough, I was working this past week on a Porsche, and it's a 1988 Porsche Carrera, and it was delivered to the dealer on January 6, 1989. So it has to be among one of the last 1988 Porsches built, because the delivery ends up being 89.
Yeah, Porsche puts the exact birthday on there too. They put the date it was built. A lot of car companies don't do that.
If you're interested in and we could do a whole show on the numeric details that Porsche does with their cars, their engines, their VIN numbers, their engine case halves, all are stamped with numbers. And these numbers are put together in some amazing Germanic calculations of the way they all fit together. And it's amazing how well they figure out all this stuff. I dug into this particular mathematic equation that's associated with the castings for the engine halves. And you put this number into this number and this number, and you know what comes out at the end? The day of the week that they cast that engine. It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
And that's how and there, you look at the build on those cars, and it's pretty amazing what they did. But then you look at something like the Dodge Challenger, and the Dodge Challenger and many of the Dodge products from the 70s have date-coded hoses and date-coded mufflers. If you go to buy, for example, an original date-coded set of dual exhaust mufflers for your 1970 Dodge Hemi Challenger, you can pay $5,000-$6,000 just for the exhaust system if it's date-coded. The date-coded fan belts and all these various components on the car. The more your car has those authentic details, the more valuable it is.
Yeah, I know that there's a build sheet like under the back seat of some General Motors cars that'll have the exact day on it, if you can find it in the car.
Yes.
Or sometimes it's behind the glove box. Sometimes it's under the gas tank or above the gas tank. So when you drop the gas tank, it's like taped on there.
Yes. Right now I can see Jake fumbling quickly with his phone to say that Corvettes have build stickers on their gas tanks, and he would be absolutely right. Same thing with Chrysler products that had build sheets in several locations, including the glove box underneath the seat. These build sheets were with the car. As the car moved down the assembly line, the worker would take the sheet out, review, and see, okay, I've got to put an air-conditioned dash into this car. So you would take the air-conditioned dash and they would install it in the car. And other features and details, that's how they kept the car going down the assembly line to make those features and pieces. And a lot of times a car would be ordered with a certain piece, but it wouldn't be available. Well, they didn't want to slow down the assembly line, so they would grab something else and put it on there. So a car that was not ordered, like a Dodge that was not ordered, it was ordered with a standard hood, but only dual snorkel hoods were available. They'd put a dual snorkel hood on that car and send it on its way just to keep the line going.
Yeah, well, that, I think I told the story once that, I was selling GMC trucks at a dealership, and a Yukon showed up, and it said Yukon XL on the back, but it was not a Yukon XL. It was the regular size one, and it had a leather driver's seat and a cloth passenger seat.
Oh, there you go.
It was a screw up in the factory. It was not ordered that way. It was just a big screw up. Now, our good friend Ray, the dealer, did send me some pictures of his car of the week. And since we sold the Saab is gone.
Yes, we had a great sale there. Somebody got a fabulous car.
Yes.
And do we know where the Saab is heading to?
It's heading to Eastern Pennsylvania.
How about that?
And the guy is like, oh my, shipping's expensive. I'm like, yeah, it's going to cost you half of the price of the car almost.
Pretty much, yeah.
But the car, it went for $3,750, which is technically $4,250 because there's a $500 fee to the for the buyer.
There you go.
So our two cars we've done so far, we don't have a third car now, but we'll find something interesting because now we've taken the profit from both of those, and we'll throw that into we'll just keep going up.
Yeah, well, we may be able to feature a Camaro.
Oh, that's right.
In 2 weeks, we'll put that one together and see how that goes. And but that'll be in 2 weeks because I don't want to take away from the birthday show. But next week, I'm on a trip, so I won't be on the show next week.
Yes, Raffi will not be here, but we'll either play a rerun or we'll just take the week off.
There you go.
Completely. I do want to share a picture of this. Well, let me play our little bumper first. I mean, Eric made the bumper. Might as well play it.
There you go. All right. Car of the week.
coming from Ray, and
Oh, look at there.
that's what he's willing to give this one away. No, totally. This is a 2011 Golf with 111,000 miles.
So 2011, that's 10 years. It's still under the 15,000 annual average with about 11,000 miles per year.
It's got aftermarket rims, an amp, subwoofer.
Can we see a side view of that car?
Sure. Let's bring that one up. Here we go. Here we go. Coming up. Let's stop this one and then start this one. Got to hit so many things to do here to get it to work.
So many
There we go.
Oh, there you go.
And you can see the red MR2 in front of it.
Yeah. So this looks like it's got a little bit of window tint to it, which is nice on a white car. The aftermarket rims and the window tint on the Golf. This looks like it's something that probably was optioned up by maybe the second owner if it's a two-owner car. And these are great cars. The Golf series cars been around a long time, but the latest iterations of these cars, very reliable, very durable cars. No comment, of course, on the fuel efficiency, because even if it did get 30 miles per gallon at the time, we have no idea what it gets because Volkswagen went through the whole.
I don't think this is a diesel, though.
Oh, is it a diesel?
I don't think it is. The diesel's the one that they had the
That's the one they had done. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't say if it's a diesel or not. It might be, but it does have it's been fully serviced. It's got all the service records, heated seats.
That's unusual.
And Ray will sell this for the low price of $7,000, and that includes all fees, taxes, everything.
That's a smoking deal. I was going to guess 82.5 on this.
I should have had you guess first.
Yeah, I would have guessed 82.50. Yeah, I think that $7,000 out the door is a great deal. This is a car that's never been in any accidents. It's got some nice features. It's got the upgraded stereo, the additional or upgraded wheels and tires. That's probably $1,000 plus option there. So if you're looking for a fun car that still has plenty of miles left in it, this is a great little car.
And our friend Michael Menza sent me a couple of pictures of a couple of his 70s cars.
Let's take a look at those.
All right, hold on a second. Let me see if I can. He's in a lot of them, so we get to. All right, oops, I went all the way to the first one. Let me get back to the first one so I can start it there. Here we go. Let me get back to our page and then do a little magic here, a little clip there, Chrome tab there. This should bring it up.
Oh, there you go.
All right, that's not the one. Here we go. Got to get the other way.
Now, that's not a 1970. That is a Trans Am or a Firebird. I can't tell with the details. If it has I can't tell.
These are the 70s cars.
Oh, 70s cars. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one I remember. He bought this one in Orlando when I lived in Orlando. And that's where I met this young gentleman.
And there's the engine being worked on.
So yeah.
So it looks like he knows his way around a car if he's able to pull a motor and get the motor done. And
yeah, or he knows how to have people work on them. That's what I know how to do. You got to know a guy. You got to know a guy. The most important skill in restoring a car, you know what it is? Is knowing the right people.
No, that's not a skill.
A big checkbook.
Checkbook writing. That's the most important skill. Do you know how to write a check? Do you know how to write and spell out $3,424.17/100?
Yes.
That's the most important thing. Do you know how to write a check?
I used to say, like, we had a big rock wall put in. Somebody goes, "Oh, did you do the work there?" And I'm like, yes, with my own two hands. One hand held the checkbook and the other one held the pen.
There you go. That's it exactly. And believe me, restoring an old car is a lot of work.
And he did rebuild the Skylark engine, learned from his dad, who was an auto mechanic.
That's great.
Well, there you go.
Fantastic.
And that's what makes this show so much fun and so exciting is, we talk about cars and dads and birthdays. And we also, Rafi's favorite time. And I'm excited because I know you've got something exciting for today.
I sure do.
We're going to go old school.
Audio Jungle.
Well, it's time to go old school. And on a special old school session today, we're going to 1970. And because Dan is such a unique character with so many different qualities, we're going to pick up one of the most unique American automobiles that was ever made, the 1970. That's right, American Motors Gremlin.
Ah, the Gremlin.
The Gremlin. What an amazing car. If you think about it in the context of what American Motors had to do in 1970, this was a company that was struggling so hard to make it big. They were competing against the big three, limited resources. They had to do everything possible to maximize their product offerings. So they went to their standard base platform car, the Hornet, and they lopped the back of the Hornet off and shortened it, put the cam back onto the design, swept up the side glass in the back, and created the Gremlin. The Gremlin had a long hood and a short rear deck. And in 1970, this was very, very novel design. And if you think that the Gremlin wasn't a big deal and that it was just a passing fad car, oh no. The Gremlin was made for 8 years, which is a long time in automotive product offering, and they sold 650,000 of them, which is a tremendous amount of automobiles. So again, I choose the Gremlin because unique design, American design, 1970 year, and a much greater impact than you would think when you first see the cars. These cars were culturally important not for General Motors, for American Motors, because they literally had to save the company. And that is, in fact, what they did. The Gremlin created new interest in the American Motors product offerings. They offered the Gremlin X, which came with a V8 engine, so you could get a performance engine inside your Gremlin. It had a sporty interior with a faux wood grain dash and 3-spoked hub steering wheel. You could get them with some performance features, but you could also get a Gremlin with a basic engine that would get good fuel economy and run for quite a bit of time. One of the interesting features of the design was the rear hatchback. So you could open it up and stow lots of groceries or luggage in the back. It was about the same size as a Volkswagen Beetle. There's a great comparison photo there, but you have the long hood look of a full-size or mid-sized sedan at the time. Economical and low price. Guess what the base price was for a Gremlin in 1970?
$19.99, I'm going to guess.
$1,780.
Oh my God.
And for the base model, you got a quality automobile that would operate for very low cost and very, very low maintenance involved. And if you took care of this car and were careful about making sure that it didn't get too much salt exposure, it wouldn't rust to death. Now, what you're showing over there is that was, I believe, the first or maybe second concept vehicle that went with the Gremlin, which had the hatch that opened up and the slide out rear section so you could load things on the inside a little more conveniently.
Oh, look, they have a little tea set down at the bottom.
There you go. So the 1970 Gremlin, often maligned and included with the Pacer, which was the later offering from American Motors. Some pretty unique and novel custom Gremlins have been made over the years, but a pretty unusual design. And if you go to buy one today, I don't know if you've searched on Craigslist or Auto Trader, They're not hard to find, but good ones are really hard to find in great condition.
I just went on here and looked, and I don't see any. There's not one Gremlin or Pacer in the Seattle market or anywhere within like 500 miles of here.
Yeah, if you go to buy one, I highly recommend you get one that's been done in very, very unique 70s color schemes. Some of them came with pretty unusual kind of mod interiors, and those are always fun. I believe they made a Levi's edition Gremlin, which I believe came with Levi jean interior. Why don't you check that one? I think it was the Gremlin that came with a Levi's interior.
All right.
This was during the time where automotive companies were there was a Coca-Cola van that was built. There was the Levi's interior. There were the Bill Blass Continental. There were all kinds of these sort of sub-branded cars that were being marketed and advertised in the 70s. And that was sort of the beginning of that type of thing. We would later see like the Eddie Bauer edition Ford Explorer. There's the Levi.
Wow.
Boy, you can't beat that, Dan, can you?
Oh my God.
And today, to find an originally optioned Levi's edition Gremlin, that's a very rare car. Literally, the whole interior was done with Levi material. And
I mean, even the seat backs have like the pockets and the
absolutely, and the zippered section. And that's a durable interior material because it isn't going to wear out very easily. And it actually, when you see one in person, you can't help but smile because it is so 70s and so very much in keeping with what was being done at the time. And I think even the exterior had the Levi's Gremlin.
with the seat of the pants. Now Gremlin with upholstery that's like blue denim Levi's, has orange stitching and buttons, even the famous Levi's tabs on both front seats.
Yeah. You even got a white stripe on it. I think they all came in the kind of mid-tone blue. There may have been some that came with in a darker blue color, but to find an original Levi's Gremlin, I think is pretty unusual.
And it even says, true to the American Motors buyer protection plan, both Gremlin and its Levi's are guaranteed for 1 year or 12,000 miles. Ooh.
1 year. And you got to think about it. Do you have jeans that will last a year? Of course you do.
Yes.
And you're not wearing your car interior like you're wearing your jeans. So it was a pretty smart thing.
But the car only had a 1 year, 12,000 mile warranty too. That's crazy.
That's true. You'd probably wear out the chassis or the platform. You'd probably rust out before the jeans wore out.
I love the ending tagline because you can just hear the middle of a baseball game, boring baseball game. The guy's got a Levi's Gremlin, the economy car that wears pants.
And that's exactly how it would sound.
And so then here's what's right too. American Motors buyer protect, a simple, strong guarantee, just 101 words. So here it is. When you buy a new 1973 car from an American Motors dealer, American Motors Corporation guarantees to you that except for the tires, it will pay for regular repair replacement of any part it supplies that is defective in material workmanship. 12 months. It's good for 12 months from the date of the car is first used, or 12,000 miles, whichever comes first. All we require is that the car be properly maintained and cared for under normal use and service in the 50 United States or Canada. And that guaranteed repairs or replacement be made by an American Motors dealer. Free loaner car for almost every one of our dealers if guaranteed repairs take overnight. Special trip interruption protection and a toll-free hotline.
Ooh.
AMC headquarters.
There you go. So that's our old school, the American Motors or AMC Gremlin, 1970 being the introductory year. And then, of course, by 1973, I believe, is when they offered the Levi's Gremlin.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that did say 1973. And Jake pointed out that Jeep also had a Levi's interior, but Jeep was AMC. They merged, right? And then Chrysler bought them.
Yeah. So you know what I think it's time to do, Dan? I think we need to do 1970 gas prices and compare with contemporary gas prices.
Well, I could only find one gas price.
Uh-oh.
And that was the national average today. And the national average today, I guess you should guess.
Okay, the national average for
Oh wait, we've got to play our little stupid thing. Hold on a second.
How much is gas where you live?
There we go.
I can't get enough of that voice.
How much is gas in 1970?
In 1970, I'm going to guess that gas in 1970 was 43 cents a gallon.
Oh, so close. And if it was the Price is Right, you would lose because you did go over.
Oh,
40 cents was the average.
40 cents.
40 cents was the average gas in 1970. What's the lowest you remember? Do you remember? I mean, you're a little bit older than me, but not much. Do you remember 40-cent gas?
I remember the lowest price gas that I saw on a sign. I was on a trip with my family. We were in Boston, and I think I was 8 years old. And I remember pulling into this gas station, 28.9 cents a gallon. That was the lowest price I've ever seen for gas.
And that was around 1970, ironically, since we're talking about 8 years old. That was 1970, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I remember gas being in the 70s. In the 70s. And the lowest I paid for gas as a driving adult was 92.9 cents in Ohio. And this wasn't that long. I mean, it was long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. It was like 1994.
Right.
Like I remember gas going really stupid cheap for a while. And Ohio was always cheaper than Pennsylvania because of state taxes.
The USA Gas in Santa Monica, California, on the corner of Montana and 14th Street is where I paid 59.9 cents a gallon. And that was the lowest I'd paid for gas. I remember at the time that the price of gas to fill up the tank in one of my cars would take a $10 bill. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of money.
My mom remembers 23.9.
23.9. And here's the thing that's interesting about that. We go back to our 4X model from 1970 with inflation. And if you 4 times the price of gas in 1970, well, that only takes us to $1.60 a gallon. Well, we haven't had $1.60 a gallon fuel for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Looks like Michael remembers 25 cents a gallon with a free salad bowl or football glasses. Yes, gas stations used to give away when you bought.
To incentivize people to come buy gas.
Here, there was a gas station. Adam remembers 99 cents a gallon.
Jake remembers the 69, 70, and 99 menu.
Yep.
Oh, wait, that might have been the Taco Bell menu, he said.
Well, so we still have a 1970 gas price it was 40 cents. Okay. So that's 40 cents a gallon. And then a 1970 Gremlin was $1,700. Now, if you call it $2,000, you can't get a brand new car for $8,000. So you see how the prices have changed substantially over the years. And when we look at gas prices today, my guess is our national average for gas prices today is probably $2.78.
Oh, I didn't even look at today. So hold on a second.
All right, we're going to look at today's gas.
And then I have to argue with our friend Michael Menza for a second. 314 is the national average today.
314. Wow, boy.
The lowest, of course, Mississippi. I mean, no spoiler there.
Yeah.
So I did say, ironically, that was also 1970, and he said that's not irony. We fight about this all the time. Coincidentally. However, I am looking up a definition online of ironically in a way that is the opposite of what would be expected, often a remarkable coincidence. A remarkable coincidence can also be ironically.
It could be iron-cidentally. There you go. We'll make up a new word.
Yes. Well, Adam does say gas might go up with the hurricane hitting Louisiana. Adam is from New Orleans. Adam, I think you still have family there. I hope everybody is safe. If this hurricane does hit the Gulf, as they think it will. And I hope it's not a Katrina, which actually, I won't say ironically, coincidentally happened on August 28th.
Oh, did it?
I remember that was it was around my birthday.
A lot.
What
of
is my
honorable-
source? My source is dictionary.com.
There you go.
That is my source. So
Well,
you can
and-
use the word. Now, irony and ironically could be two different things too. The way you say irony or the way you use the word ironically.
Right. And I always remember it because if my shirts need to be pressed, then I get very irony. And then when they're done,
See, you and Menza would get along great. Because at the end of the show, we would say, all right, well, I hope everybody goes out and gets a car and gets a goodbye. All right.
well, it is your birthday.
It is my birthday. What's my source? My mom. Oh, that's different. That was a different one.
Mom is always right. Your mom.
And there's a
is your
face
source.
palm. All right. We got the face palm.
Oh, good.
And Adam
Well,
was in New Orleans during Katrina. That is true.
yeah, that was a lot of very, very challenging times there. A lot of cars were lost in Katrina as well.
Yes. And Christy says happy birthday to Dan. Virgo's rule. Her birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
And
birthday.
I will come by and get my chocolate chip scone in a little while. But I guess that's the show. Now, we do have another a surprise show, not surprise, a show we don't normally do. We used to do when the whole lockdown started, we did a show every day. And this was the Saturday morning show. Then we started just doing a Monday night movie show, which this Monday night, the movie is Strange Brew, if you're into Canadians or beer or SCTV. That'll be a great fun movie to talk about. And tomorrow we're going to do a Eridan Social Hour, which we normally do every other Wednesday, a special Sunday birthday edition starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time.
What you're doing is you're spreading out the entire weekend. So it's going to be a birthday weekend, which I heartily endorse.
Yes. And it's and Eric has a wedding this evening. Also, we would have done the party tonight, the online party tonight.
Eric's got such a busy social schedule. You just can't keep track of it.
Well, he's a DJ. He's a wedding DJ. He's being paid to have a social schedule. He doesn't really have a social schedule.
That's the best social schedule there is.
Yeah. So if you're around, tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific time on all the channels here. You can watch it and enjoy it. And other than that, next week we will be off. We might air a rerun, but I think we confused a lot of people with that because people were commenting on the rerun thinking it was live. So we'll probably just take next week off. Raffi will be on vacation, and that means we will be back September 11th, I think. Oh my God, it might be September 11th.
Is it September 11th? I'll have to, let's
I don't
look
know
at
what that Saturday is.
That Saturday is the 11th. How about that?
All right. Well, we'll be back on the 20th anniversary of 7-Eleven. 9/11. Oh my God, I just said 7-Eleven.
9/11. Well, we could.
I'll edit that. I'll edit this ending out of the podcast. And that's the show for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see you in 2 weeks right here on Clutch Radio. I'm Dan.
And I'm Raffi.
And this has been Clutch Radio. And here's the song you won't be able to get out of your head the rest of the morning.